You know this film, even if you've never seen it. It remains shocking and even today still delivers a powerful message about the meaning of life and our purpose within the world. But what is that message? Well, picture this famous scene. A knight plays chess with a hooded figure on a rocky shore. And that hooded figure is not just anyone, it is Death.
Jeg døden.
And the knight attempts to defy him, to do the impossible, to defeat Death. Or at least to play for a little more time so that he can complete one last quest. This iconic moment in film is so seared into our cultural consciousness. It is the embodiment of philosophy on film, so much so that it has been parodied endlessly.
Du spelar ju schack, inte sant?
Ja, jag är verkligen en ganska skicklig schackspelare.
Ja. Jag har sett det på målningar och hört i visorna.
Choose your game. Defy.
Miss.
Who are you?
Death.
What happens after we die? Is there a hell? Are there girls?
You're an interesting young man.
I don't think Americans watch subtitled films.
And yet the original, Ingmar Bergman's singular masterpiece, The Seventh Seal, defeats all the parodies, just like Death in a game of chess. But what are the philosophies and the messages of this cryptic film? What do these images, death, quests, games, mean? Well, join me as I explain it as best I can in this first episode of our Philosophy Film Club, because I want to show you the paths that Bergman lays out for us about how we might go forward when we confront a harsh, destructive, potentially meaningless world. Because this film contains Bergman's entire philosophy of life. Now, if you've never seen this film before, or if it's been a while, let me quickly lay out the plot for you. A knight wakes up on a hard, stony beach. He's just returned home from the Crusades, or maybe he hasn't, and maybe this is somewhere else entirely. And it's the 14th century, or maybe it isn't. And the knight kneels to pray, but can't, and Death is there. The knight's time has come. So he challenges Death to a game of chess to delay the inevitable, and surprisingly, Death agrees. But the game will continue as the knight travels, returning to his castle and the wife he's left behind, travelling through the fields and forests and villages that may be medieval or maybe the end of times, and which are ravaged by the Black Death or perhaps by something else. And on the knight's journey, there are many incidents and characters that slowly unravel the meaning of the film. Each character the knight meets is a type, a way of being in the world. There's Jons, the knight's squire, who is a cynic about the world and always ready with a sarcastic comeback.
Att vårt korståg var så dumt så bara en riktig idealist kunde funnit på det.
But he follows his master, nevertheless. And there's Yoff, the juggler and the fool, who takes joy in the simplest things. Then there's Mia, his wife, who overflows with love for their baby son and care for the others in their impromptu caravan.
Tänk vad du kan hitta på.
Jag märker nog att du inte tror mig.
And there are others like an actor, a blacksmith and his wife, a thief, villagers, priests, guards, farmers, an innkeeper, even a church painter. As the knight's strange band travels across the plagued landscape, they collect other survivors and they pass those they cannot help. This includes a young woman burned at the stake because it is believed that she has the devil in her. The knight and his cortege arrive at the castle, greeted by the knight's wife, who has braved the plague and the years of absence to meet him. They have one last meal and they hear at the door, but no one is there until Death appears. And then the film ends. Importantly, the title, The Seventh Seal, refers to a passage of the Bible from Revelations, which is quoted at the beginning and the end of the film. The meaning of the phrase actually isn't important. In fact, it's almost a nonsense when it's quoted in isolation. It's full of symbol and portent, but it doesn't really signify anything in the film. What matters is that it signals the beginning of the apocalypse and the end of days. And one of the great mysteries of the film is whether it just feels like the end of times, similar to so many moments in history and is a historical drama just set in the Middle Ages, or whether it's something else, whether it's an allegory for an end of times that could happen at any point, or even if it's a cycle or something that happens in the future, something we're doomed to repeat over and over again. And this question Bergman never answers. It's almost like it's beside the point. He's not interested in prophecy. What he's interested in is what we as human beings do when we're confronted by the limits of our existence and the certainty that someday our time will come. And that is the simple plot of one of the greatest films ever made. But a little history. Before he made his masterpiece, the first of many to come, Bergman was actually known as a director of comedies. And it might not sound like it from my quick description of the plot, but The Seventh Seal is a very funny movie. But that's an easy thing to forget when you're haunted by the image of playing chess with death. Yet, there's bum jokes.
Rumpan bak. Stor sanning. Rumpan bak. Rumpan bak.
And a commentary on the joys of marriage.
Barskrik och pissblöjor.
Vassa naglar och spydigheter.
Hugg och slag och fans moster till svärmor.
Så när man ska lägga sig och sova.
Blir det en ny melodi?
Tårar, gnäll och jämringar i himlens höjd.
Varför kysser de inte godnatt?
Varför sjunger inte en sång?
Varför älskar de inte som när vi träffades först?
Varför tittar den på min nya särk?
Bara vänder ryggen till och snarkar.
Fy fan.
Fy fan. Nu är hon borta. Led dig.
And some great comebacks.
Passa dig, din parfymerade
Slappedask.
slappidask. Så jag inte lägger av en fjärt. Som tvärt på ögonblicket för den heter taskspelarnas eget glödheta. Där ni kan sitta tillhopa och...
Läsa monologer.
läsa monologer för varann. Tills det dammar ur öronen på fan själv.
Bra prov.
It's also amazing that the film ever got made at all. Svensk film industry gave Bergman a tiny budget and only 36 days to shoot the footage. Bergman was inspired to write the film based on a variety of sources, including his own father's sermons, who was a Lutheran preacher and a strict, dominating presence in Bergman's childhood. Bergman grew up surrounded by religious ideas and religious images, but he was always haunted by the feeling that perhaps it meant nothing. That perhaps God is not to be found in this world. Indeed, many of Bergman's characters, including the knight in this film, are searching for single signs that God has not withdrawn from them. And in Bergman's films, they almost never find it. There are no easy answers for a Bergman character. In a climactic scene in the film, Bergman's knight speaks to a young woman who is to be burned at the stake at dawn for consorting with the devil. He asks her,
Det säger att du varit i lag med djävulen.
Varför frågar du det?
Det är inte av nyfikenhet, utan av högst personliga skäl. Jag vill också möta honom.
Varför?
Jag vill fråga honom om Gud. Han måste ju veta. Han om någon.
Du kan se honom när du vill. Nå, vad ser du? Ser du honom?
Jag ser en stel skräck i dina ögon. Ingenting annat.
Ingen. Ingenting. Ingen.
Nej.
Står han inte heller bakom din rygg?
Nej. Här är tomt.
because if he cannot find God, and this is the end of times, then the knight is determined to find at least the devil, as the existence of one must prove the existence of the other, even if only indirectly. But the devil, too, is absent. Nothing is behind him. And at the end of his quest, speaking again to death, the knight realises that the world is full of things that people do to each other and nothing else. Just to be sure, the knight asks death what he knows, and death answers,
Jag bär inte på några hemligheter.
Så du vet ingenting?
Jag är ovetande.
Because death contains nothing. So, nothingness. Is this the secret message and the philosophy of Bergman's The Seventh Seal? No, I don't think it is. Because so far, I've played the same trick on you that Bergman plays on us in the film. I've led you to believe that the knight is the main character of the film, and he isn't. When people remember this film, they mostly remember the chess game with death and the deep conversations the knight has with him. They remember the futility and the struggle. But death isn't even a character in the play Bergman originally wrote, and which he turned into the script for this film. Death doesn't appear at all in that. And Bergman mentions in an interview that what attracted him to making this film was, quote, the whole idea of people travelling through the downfall of civilization and culture, bringing birth to new songs. But throughout the film, the knight doesn't sing a single song. His heart is far too weighed down with existential dread and the effort of battling death to its inevitable conclusion. And that brings us to the philosophy of the film, because the protagonists of the film, at least for me, are Yoff and his family. They are the ones who sing and who celebrate. They're bards and they're performers, and they tell the knight that when their son grows up, he too shall be a wonderful performer. These characters live in the same world as the rest of the cast, the questing knight, the cynical squire, the brutal thief, but they make something entirely different of it. For them, it isn't the end of times. It's just every day. And each moment is an opportunity for joy and for affirmation, even if some of those moments are not too joyful. They're happy, creative fools. Yoff even has beautiful, holy visions that no one else believes, and he spins them into songs. So what does all of this mean? Well, in putting these iconic characters and scenes on film, Bergman offers us two competing philosophies, or ways to interpret the world, and some potential paths through them as well. The first philosophy is one of denial and negation. It looks around and it sees nothing but bad people and evil deeds and a world degraded. In the film, it's epitomised by the preacher who says,
Gud har sänt sin straffdom över oss. Åh! Vi ska alla förgås i den svarta döden. Ni som står där, en gapande fäkreatur. Och ni som sitter där i dösta självbelåtenhet. Vet ni att detta kan vara er sista timma? Döden står bakom er rygg. Jag kan se hur hans gässa blänker i solen. Hans lie blixtrar när han höjer den bakom era huvuden. Vem av er ska han drabba först? Vet ni alla förstockade dårar att vi alla ska dö? Idag, eller imorgon, eller nästa dag, därför alla är dömda. Hör ni vad jag säger? Hör ni ordet? Dömda, dömda, dömda!
And you can't help but wonder if Bergman heard similar sermons as a child. It's a dark philosophy. It's full of denial and rejection, where we punish ourselves for the awful state of the world and we beg some external force to release us, which death is only too happy to grant. But the second philosophy is the philosophy of the fool. The bards who sing from one moment to the next and take whatever comes with a tune on their lips. They share sun and strawberries and fresh milk with the knight on his journey, and for the first time in the film, the knight actually seems happy. And the fools, they part with the knight when it seems that his quest can only lead to one place. Instead of focusing on the losing game with death, they create, they sing, they hope and they plan for their son's future. As Bergman says, they give birth to new songs. And those are the two philosophies that compete within the film, one of negation and one of affirmation, one of denial and one of creativity, one of doom and one of hope. And by creating such indelible characters, Bergman also shows us several paths that we can take through these competing philosophies in a very harsh world. We can be like a bully, like the thief, who takes what he can from the weak, but he also dies by the sword when he runs into someone stronger. Or we can be like the cynic, the squire, who washes his hands of responsibility of the world, and he lets the tides take him here and there, wherever they will, in the wake of his master. Or we can be like the knight himself, defiant, constantly dissatisfied and questing for truth, refusing to give up, even when playing a game that he will certainly lose. Or we can be the fools, taking what the world gives us and spinning it into something beautiful and allowing ourselves to be happy, even knowing that tomorrow we may not be. The truth of the film, and what I think is Bergman's secret message on life, is that we will be all of these characters at different times in our lives. Sometimes we will be the knight or the cynic. Hopefully, we'll always remind ourselves never to be the thief, as tempting as it might sometimes be to strike back instead of forgive. But we can also be the fools. And in seeing these great characters assembled together under Bergman's masterful hand, he also reminds us that we can be on one path, but we can choose to be on another. Something powerful, like a film that absorbs us into its world, can give us a moment to stop and to think and to feel and to consider and to choose. Now, we don't choose whether we live in the end of days or not, but we do choose what we do with our time. We choose whether to search or to cry or to celebrate before death wins his inevitable chess match. And I think one of the great strengths of this film is its abundant humanity. It withholds judgment and it seems to have sympathy, even for the thief. These are human beings, after all, living in the end times and making difficult choices. We might be there ourselves. But very subtly, Bergman does seem to have a favoured path. Characters that make him smile the most. It's no mistake that the film closes with another iconic image, the counterpoint to that grim shot at the start of the film as the knight challenges death on a stony shore. It's technically called a danse macabre. It's the dance of death. It's a scene that's famous in countless religious paintings and equally as grim in them as a knight pacing down his own death. And the film itself has something to say about these grim images.
Vad ska jag föreställa?
Det är dödsdansen.
Det är döden.
Ja, han dansar iväg med dem allihop.
Varför håller du på med sådana klodderier?
Ja, jag tänkte man skulle påminna folk om det faktum att de ska dö.
Jag blir inte glada då.
Varför i helvete ska han alltid göra folk glada? Man kan ju skrämma dem lite ibland.
Då blundar de och tittar inte på din tavla.
Du kan tro de tittar. En dödskalle är mycket intressantare än ett naket fruntimmer.
Ja, om du nu skrämmer dem.
Ja, tänker de.
Och de tänker.
Blir de ändå räddare.
Kila galopp i fem på prästerna.
Det är inte min sak.
Bara måla din dödsdans du.
Ja.
But at the close of the film, we don't see that. We see something quite different. And it's thanks to the fool who looks back and has a vision of his own. He sees this.
De är där allihop. Smeden och Lisa och riddaren Ravel och Jöns och Skat. Och den stränge herren döden bjuder dem till dans. Han vill att de ska hålla varandra i händerna. Och så ska de tråda dansen i en långa rad. Och först går den stränge herren med lie och timglas. Men Skat, han slinkar på sladden med sitt stränga spel. De träder bortåt. Bort från gryningen i en högtidlig dans.
And it is sad, but it's also beautiful. And unlike some religious paintings, it asks us not to be afraid or to fear death, but to see the beauty in the dance and the joy of its steps, and not to take it all too seriously.
Du med dina drömmar och syner.
Now, it would have been easy to mention Plato or Camus or Nietzsche or the myth of Sisyphus or other philosophies in reading Bergman's films, and maybe you can detect their influence here too. But Bergman's films don't need them. Their philosophy is purer and simpler. It shows the power of art as philosophy, and it uses that power of cinema to create a world with its own clashing perspectives and a way through them just by showing us the experiences of others. It connects with us on an immediate level in a way that a dry philosophical tome might never. And The Seventh Seal, it's a great film. It's fun and it's enjoyable. It's fun and enjoyable in a way that so many great films you're supposed to watch really aren't. And it's a great first entry into our philosophy film club. But until next time, be wise and be kind. And check out The Seventh Seal.